Welcome back, everybody. The most fun part of the Zenith Super Duty build is happening now. I am finally in the priming and painting stage. I did get a few pieces primed, and I'll show you those. But one thing I want to point out right away is I am not going to make a lot of videos at all on the painting of this airplane. If you're new to the channel, I made all of these same videos previously when I painted my Zenith Cruiser. So if you're interested in how I'm painting, you can kind of go back to the channel and watch those videos. So with that said, let's get started. Well, I know the first question some of you will have is what primer am I using? This is SPI epoxy primer. It is a two-part primer. It has an activator or catalyst, that's part B, and then the thinner. And this is really easy to use. You mix 50-50 with the paint and the reducer, and then I usually thin it about 10 to 15%. Now for the parts I'm going to show you in just a minute that I primed, this is the paint gun that I used. This is a really expensive one. It was, I think, $12.99 at Harbor Freight, and this works absolutely perfectly for small parts. What I'm going to use for the next phase is probably this gun here. I do have a bunch of paint guns. I believe this is also, yeah, I think this is also another Harbor Freight one. But I've, for some reason, I found that the Harbor Freight ones actually work better than my really good expensive paint guns. Now you see on this paint gun here, that little hole in the top of the cap. Keep that in mind because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And all paint guns, no matter what, have a vent up here because, you know, it's just like your fuel tank. As the paint goes out of here, if air could not replace the paint, you know, you'd suck in this cap here. So they're all vented, but I want to show you something regarding that hole on the parts that I painted. I have the wide angle lens on the camera now so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. This is my makeshift paint booth. I have one curtain that way, and the curtain you see on the ground, this one I always have to put up and down because it connects to a little hook that's on the hangar door. And when I prime and paint in here, I do move the airplanes out of the hangar. So I open the door, move the airplanes out, close the door, then put that cable with the tarps back onto the door. You can see my little jig assembly I have here for the doors. And that piece right here is my wing stand, just like the one that's over in the corner there. And to hold the doors, I just kind of crudely screwed on some 2x4s to the top, and I just hung the doors with a chain from there, and this worked really nicely to prime the doors. Now there are two places where I have to get under the door, right here, and of course, the bottom of here. Now the way I did that when I was painting was I just put this little piece of wire in here, and then I could lift the door up like this and then spray the bottom and then put the door back down and take that little pin out. Now here's the problem. When I did try to tilt the gun a little bit just to get up in here, and I tilted it a little bit too far, and you know that little hole in the top of the paint cup? Well, guess what dripped out? So now, let me see if I can show you on here. You see that right there? It really stands out with the light. That's where it spilled out of the cup. Now, of course, it couldn't go right here, or it couldn't go right here. It naturally had to fall right on the door frame. So what I'm doing is I'm going to let this dry for another day, and then I'm going to sand off this spot right here, and then just shoot another coat of primer. And so what I'll do next, since the doors are done and ready for paint, other than that little touch-up I have to do, I have these two pieces hanging here, and then I have the big dorsal fin right here. Both of these pieces are ready to prime. I actually wanted to get these primed today, but I'm going to wait another day just because if I'm going to mix up primer, I might as well respray this little area at the same time. So I'll let this dry again tonight, sand it tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'll spray that little spot, those two pieces, and a dorsal fin. Now I wanted to show you something in the hangar because I really feel good about this. You'll notice there is no pits in here anymore. This pits was sold and the guy just picked it up today. So I have a lot more room in here now. I have room to move things around for painting. But what I wanted to show you on here is that after I'm done with the doors and the parts that are in there, I think I'm going to work on the fuselage next. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gear off and paint the gear first, prime it and paint it first, so that once the fuselage is painted, the gear is ready to put back on. So the gear is next, and then once the gear is done, everything's out of the paint booth, I will move the fuselage into the paint booth, and I got to spend a lot of time scuffing and sanding the whole thing before I can prime it. But that's what I want to work on next. I'll get this fuselage painted and get the windows in. By that time, the doors will be done. I could put the doors on. And then I'm not going to put on this glare shield aluminum yet. I'm actually going to paint it separately and put it on after everything's already painted, because I don't have the engine yet, and I want to install and run the engine before I put this on, just in case I need to get to the wiring or anything like that. It'd be 1,000 times easier without this glare shield. So in just the next couple days here, I'll be wheeling this back to the hangar and getting it ready for primer and paint. I did post a picture a while ago of my paint scheme, and I'll put a picture on the screen now of what my original paint scheme was. But this has changed quite a bit, and I've debated on whether showing you or just painting it. And for now, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to kind of keep it a little bit of a surprise, but it will be different than this scheme that you just saw. Well, guys, I guess that's it for this video. Short video. Like I said, I'm really not going to film the painting process. I may make videos here and there showing you parts that I've painted. But like I said, if you really want to see how I'm doing this, go ahead and watch some of the previous videos. So I guess we'll see you on the next video. Maybe my doors will be painted green, and I'll be sure to show you that.